All right, welcome back to the Planet Paintball podcast, brought to you by 1023 Sportswear. Go and hit up the website, look at some options for some jerseys. Use code Planet Paintball for 20% off. And Southwest Paintball in Bayfield, Colorado. Season's still going out there, so get out to your local Southwest field in Bayfield, Colorado. If you haven't already, give it a like or subscribe, rating on iTunes or Spotify. It all helps. Leave a comment, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, let's get into it. I got Tyler from Palmetto Hills Paintball with me. How you doing, Tyler?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. Just another Friday.
So, wanted to talk C3XL and Tournament of Aces with you. The season's done, but you're still a busy guy. You got
Yeah.
like 3 other events in the pipeline already.
Yeah. It's always when one ends, we're always looking straight at the next one. It doesn't seem like there's ever really an off season for me, but I'm not complaining about that.
Well, so how do you feel the season went for the C?
Overall, I feel like for it to be the second year, it went really well. I think a lot of people are surprised when I say that, we've only done it for 2 years and that I'm still learning as I go. I definitely don't think that I have it perfected yet. I still want to do some tweaks and some adjustments to the overall league as a whole to make it better for the players and for myself as an owner. So just, going to take things that went good and try to replicate that, and things that didn't go so good and try to tune it and tweak it a little bit and make it better for next year.
Any is it too soon to ask what some of those tweaks may or may not be, or something you were really happy with at least?
It's not too soon. I just think that, it's important to note that everything right now is just in the idea phase. And I've got different ideas. Nothing is set in stone. One of the big ones will be to no longer do Easter and no longer do Father's Day. Um, Even though the events we had on those 2 weekends were good events, when we had an event that wasn't on a holiday weekend, and it was still in the middle of the season. Back here at Palmetto, we had, 45 teams. And I think that one of the bigger reasons that we didn't have 45 teams at some of those other events was because it was Father's Day and Easter weekend. So definitely going to try to stay with the same kind of time frame and outline, but not do holiday weekends,
Okay.
which is really tough considering how many other leagues and other things are going on. I've tried really hard in the past to work in with the fellow Carolina leagues and make sure that we're not doing stuff on the same weekends. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to do that in the future, but I'm definitely going to be looking out for what's good for my players that play in our league. And if we have to do something on the same weekend as somebody else because we don't want to do Easter Sunday, then so be it. So that's a big one. The only other real big change, and again, it's not set in stone, but it's something that we've definitely been chewing on, is Division 6, Division 5, and Division 4. This was my first year adding Division 4 in, and it was great when we had 40 teams or 45 teams, whatever it was at Palmetto that time. But for some of the other ones, it was kind of tough when you only have 6 or 7 teams in your division playing. And so the solution, or the idea for the solution, is to continue to do that, but not make it so strict on you can only have one player from a division up, and make it more where it's points based off of your entire roster.
Okay.
So it would still be Division 6, Division 5, Division 4, but we would call it something maybe like bronze, silver, and gold. And, based off bronze would still be Division 6. It would be mainly for your beginners. Silver would be your Division 5, but it could be a mixture. Whereas in silver, you could potentially have a really, really good Division 4 high point player playing with 2 Division 6 players.
Okay.
And then in gold, you could turn around and you could maybe even run into, I haven't made the points and all that, but you could maybe even run into a guy that's low Division 2, but he's playing with 2 guys that have never played a tournament before.
Gotcha.
And that hopefully will be able to let more teams in different combinations get together. And then the other idea to that is that this year we had a 5 player roster cap, and I'm really, really chewing on the idea of moving it to a 4 player roster cap because it's about having the best three man team. And there are multiple camps that had like, let's say, 12 guys, and they would form 2 teams. But if the roster cap was at 4, then that's a third team that camp gets to put in. And I kind of feel like I've got all these different camps that are in the league, but I need, instead of it just being the Killionaires, I need the Killionaires purple and the Killionaires black.
Hmm.
Instead of it being rice and beans, I need rice and beans and rice and beans unks more often. I need more of that
Hmm.
division amongst the camps to make other teams to get these 40 team tournaments because it's better for me as an owner and it's also better for the player. And so I'm just trying to find different ways to make that achievable.
Okay. Nice. Just throwing this out there. Have you talked to Larry Moats yet?
I haven't. He is on the list of people that I want to talk to for sure. And I've actually been told that he's been here at Palmetto, but I think when he comes and plays or whatever, he goes under the radar pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
He doesn't he doesn't want to be recognized as anybody. And what I do know about him, I've listened to his episode on your podcast, and that's where I've got the majority of information about the guy. And I would really, really like to talk to him. Moving forward, especially. And like I said, all of those things I just mentioned are just in the idea stage. And I'm sure talking to somebody like that could definitely add to a bunch of those ideas for sure.
Yeah. Well, the reason I brought him up was he did a series called the Carolina Cup, which was based on what you're talking about, right? Like it was a 5-man series, but he had like a team cap on points, right? So you could have I think in his series, you could have a semi pro guy, but then everyone around him had to be like deep.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's wild that, he was kind of did it before I ever come along and we're having similar ideas without ever even talking to each other. So I definitely think he would be a worthwhile person to talk to for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll link you guys up after this.
Yeah, I would love that, man. I
I'll do
really
a
would.
little intro if you haven't met him before because he's a great guy. I'm sure he'd
And that's
take
the thing
time.
is, like, I feel like I met him here at Palmetto, but he was just a normal guy that day. He didn't want to, and I totally understand not wanting to come in and just wanting to have a good day of paintball. So
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Well, I like those ideas, man. I've heard rumors that maybe looking at a webcast or streaming or something.
Yeah, that's been one of those things that people have been hounding me about since the beginning. And I've always said that I didn't think that we could do it to the quality that I would want to do it to.
Okay.
And if we were going to do it half assed, for lack of a better term, then I didn't want to do it at all. But I do have, and I'll use that opportunity to shout out all of these media guys that I have in my corner with Blue and G Lily and Mikey from Blackout. Like I have the resources and the people available to be able to pull something off. I just don't right now. I think a rumor is a good word for it
Okay.
because there's no real meat to that idea yet. I've had multiple goofballs ask me if they could color commentate on the event and webcast it and all of that. And as much as it would be something that I would enjoy, especially to watch back after the event and to share with everybody who couldn't make it to the event, I just want to really make sure that it's a good product before we put it out there to the world because I've seen some other regional leagues webcast in the past and I didn't expect it to be Go Sports, but at the same time, it really looked like that they didn't care. And I don't want to do that. If we're going to
Yeah.
do it, then I'm not saying we have to spend $10,000 on equipment and all that, but I want it to look professional and feel professional. So if I feel like that's something that's achievable, then I could see it happening. I would say right now that there's a high likelihood that if it does happen, it would happen at maybe the finale next year as a test hit or a single
Okay.
event as a test run and just see how it goes from there.
Fair enough. Well, if you need a commentator for it, I'll jump in.
Yeah,
I'll throw my hat
man,
in the ring.
everybody wants to be Matty Marshall, dude. Everybody wants to be Matty Marshall.
Oh, all right. Well, that's cool. So no thoughts of limited paint or anything.
So I definitely, just being completely transparent, I definitely think that the limited paint idea has merit to it, especially in three man. But when the simple truth of the matter is, the fields make their money off of paint sales,
Fair
and
enough.
I don't make any money off of paint sales. I've told people that since the beginning, that I don't have my hand in the paint sales. That's where the field makes their money, and I want the fields to be happy when I come to
Yeah.
town, and I want to feel welcomed when I show up with the league. And it needs to be a big deal for them. And the reason it's a big deal for them is because they're selling 2, 3 skids of paint,
Yeah.
and so if I could have 40 teams at every event and we could still hit that 2 to 3 skids number for the fields, then I could see it happening where we limit it to something, like 3 or 4 pods in a hopper. We don't need to cut them down too much, but there definitely are some teams. I'm not going to name any names that are notorious for taking 8 and 9
Eight pods.
pods out there, and that's their play style. And it is kind of I don't want to call it a crutch because it is a skill to be able to lock down a field. And if you've got the money to spend on paint, then more power to you. But at the same time, I don't want it to get out of hand. And I think that oftentimes the layout itself kind of can control how much paint gets shot. And where you can take 8 pods out there on some of the layouts, but you're not going to get a chance to shoot more than 2 pods.
Yeah.
And so for the current stage, I'm just going to continue to try to make layouts that are where you where they can't be locked down really easily with 3 bodies. And I think as long as I can continue to do that, then there's really no need to put a paint cap on it, because I can go ahead and tell you that Command, Palmetto, and Extreme, none of those fields want to hear anything about a paint cap. They want to sell paint until they're completely out, and I don't
Yeah.
blame them.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair enough, right? Like that's like you said, that's where they get their benefit of hosting the event. So it makes sense. And why, yes, there are teams that lock it down and shoot 8 pods. Yeah, I think my average is probably 3 to 4 pod shot,
Right.
and that's
Yeah,
in
and I
between
think
the
that's a good
lockdown.
layout. If you're shooting 3 to 4 pods, then it's a good layout. So if you're going to shooting 10 pods a point, then it's probably more my fault for designing a garbage layout than it is yours.
Well, and I thought the layouts have been pretty good. And to me, what makes a good layout is there's multiple ways to break it open, right? Like you can either cut through the center or down a side, maybe not both sides, but there's different ways to crack the egg, if you will.
For
And
sure,
I thought you've done a good job
for
with it
sure. And
all year.
yeah, and I appreciate that, man. It's something that I put a lot of time into, and it's really hard for me not to make a layout that is super, super heavy center strong, because that was the paintball that I grew up watching, was the guys pushing the X and the W. And when I'm making a layout, I will make these crazy 50 structures, and then I'll come back and have to tone it down a little bit, because otherwise you would just send all 3 guys to the 50 every point. So I always like making a center strong field and then making the snake and the Doritos later. But most of the time, the layouts that the guys actually get are the third or fourth version of the layout. And the first version has always got some crazy Temple of Doom in the middle, and I have to tone
Okay.
it back a little bit.
So any chance we see like A or X next year?
That would uh, that would be good, and I'm not gonna say that it's not gonna happen, but ultimately, a field or myself is going to have to make that purchase to get one of those big bunkers,
Okay.
and I'm not gonna ask the field to do it when they normally wouldn't set it up because they're busy setting up other tournaments layouts. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't do it and tote it around with me, but at the same time, I think that the giant bricks and the giant wings are really underutilized in all the different formations they can be put together in. And I think that it just makes more sense to put those together in more modular combinations than what they unfortunately, it seems like everybody likes to use them as standalone bunkers, but if you put them all together, the 4 wings and the 2 bricks, you can make some really cool stuff.
Yeah, like the one you did for the finale.
Yeah, yeah.
Made it pretty easy to get up to the center 50 off break or within the first 10 seconds if you wanted to be there, right? But at the same time, like, you would get there and you could sit there for a minute or 2 before the game broke open.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that was just a good example of putting them together, and it really reminded me of the big W back in the day. It wasn't the W, but it kinda sorta played like the W where you had the windows,
Yeah.
and I thought that was really cool to watch people do that.
Yeah, it was a fun one for sure. I thought that was a really balanced layout because you could go up the middle, you could push in the snake, and D side wasn't a slouch either if you could get out to that kind of D corner there.
Yeah.
Any teams like surprise you or like you saw like a huge growth this season?
I mean, obviously, I know you've had them on the Killionaires, they definitely showed what a, successful program, D6 program looks like coming from the beginning to the end. I mean, they had a good season all year. I don't think they were never not on the podium, but when they played an event last year, and I mean, I don't even know if they won a point, and then, came out this year after a grind in the off season and showed what a lot of Sundays will do for a team and what a good coach will do and what a good chemistry will do. And so, from a D6 perspective, they definitely showed out. I thought it was really cool for life art that they did really good as the season went on. They just continually did good. When they came out at the very first event here at Palmetto, they did not do good. And I never expected them to do good. And they kind of proved me wrong and then continued to do so. And then by the end of the year, I think everybody was taking them very seriously. So that was cool to watch them, kind of come to the first event, figure it out. I mean, they all knew how to play paintball, but they'd never played in our series, figure out the series, figure out what they needed to do, and then come out and do it. And then obviously in the D4 camp, super impressive to watch Rice and Beans not win an event all year and then win the one that mattered the most. So I can't say I was surprised, but very cool to see that.
I was a little mad about that one.
I don't think you were alone in that camp. I think some other people were mad and disappointed, but it's really hard to be mad at them. You can be
No, I
mad
love
at
those
yourself.
guys. I just wanted the first
Yeah,
place medal.
yeah, yeah,
And it's a good story to come in and win the last one and steal the season away.
yeah. And I mean, I hated it for the guys in the engaged camp because they had 3 gold medals at the end of the year, but didn't win the last event. And I mean, I'm sure that it hurt them a lot to come in third place at the finale and then walk away with essentially nothing after they had won the most tournaments out of anybody and beat Rice and Beans multiple times. And, I was talking to one of them after the fact and they were asking me why the finale was double points. And I just asked him, I said, well, do you remember who won the Mid Atlantic Major last year? And he didn't remember, and neither do I. But we both remember who won World Cup. And that was the point that I was trying to drive home was you can have a great season, but you really need to win the finale to win it all. That happened in Division 6. That happened in Division 4, and then Legendary and Lifework were neck and neck in the standings for the season, and they finished first and second. So it goes to show that you got to not only have a good season, but you have to win the finale too, which is
Yeah.
what I want it to be.
Yeah, yes. So why D4, like, I was kind of perplexed that there was only the 4 of us. Do you
Yeah, me too.
I just don't understand it. Like,
Yeah, I don't either. And before we started doing D4, I had so many D4 teams that were telling me that they would come and, join in and this and that. And then we did it. And I wouldn't say it was a failure this year, but it was like all of those guys that had put the seed in my head to do it. Okay, well, I did it. Where are you at? That was kind of the question that I had. I mean, I don't think it was for a lack of prize money. I don't think
No,
it
no,
was,
the prizes were great.
yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about trying to give people different combinations. So maybe that we can grow that even more because I don't want to get rid of it. I'm not going to quit doing it, but just got to find some alternative ways to have more teams because there only being four teams there is ultimately what really screwed Engage out of the season championship because they got third place, but that was 120 points behind Rice and Beans because there
Mhm.
were only four teams.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was kind of a heartbreaker. But whereas if there would have been eight teams and they got third place, then, they still win the season championship.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it was that everybody was getting back into 5-man mode or they had already came and played a couple and they kind of figured out that they weren't going to beat Rice and Beans or Engage or which is a terrible mentality to have. I can't really put my finger on it. I wish I knew, to be honest with you, because I would
Yeah.
try to fix that.
Yeah, I was just surprised. Like, to me, especially, like, I like what you did with having the top 8 spots, right? Like, the top 8 teams get the first right of refusal, if you will, to the event. I really like that idea, but as, I had played with Greenville, which I think had a top 8 spot already, and then I had played with Carnage at the first event, and I really wanted to play with the boys because that was their. We thought it's gonna be the last time like we all get to play together. My brother, the Robinson brothers, and Chris, because the boys are ranking out, and we were really hoping to get a spot. And I'm thankful we did, but it really bewildered me that there wasn't four other D4 teams that were like, hey, let's go and like make a statement, by
Yeah.
going in and winning the last event. Like to me, that's a statement piece. If you haven't been able to do it all year, you have to skip something. Like it's still an event win, even though it's tied to the series.
I mean, it's the event win. It's just like winning World Cup. If it's the only event you played all year and you win it, nobody cares.
Yeah.
I mean, and you guys almost did that. You almost achieved that. And I have to remain unbiased, but once you guys got up there, I was kind of pulling for you guys to be the one to upset everybody.
We
But
were trying. We were
I
trying.
know, I know, I know.
Shout out to the Rice and Beans boys. They did lock in.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I will continue to do that where you have to earn your way into the finale. But I think that one thing I learned this year was that potentially could have been something that scared away some teams. So, whereas next year I'll do it, but the finale will be open to everybody, but the top, let's say 5 teams in the season points, basically everybody that's in contention, for the first, second, and third for the season will already get locked in. As soon as that fourth event finishes, I will go on PB Leagues and sign them up and put them as pending. That way, nobody can take their spot, and then
Okay.
open the gates to everybody else.
Gotcha. I like that idea. That way the spot is theirs until they say otherwise, right? So
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, it was like chasing cats, asking everybody if they wanted their spot or not. Because if you don't want your spot, then I want somebody else to play. I want more teams to fill it, and that was the thing that it really baffled me in Division 6 when we had that team that earned the spot and then didn't even come. And this is just a public service announcement to anybody playing in any tournament. If you pay for your spot and then you can't go or something happens, minus a major accident that morning of the tournament, it's really cool if you would just message the tournament director and let them know. It makes things run a lot smoother for everybody, and then we don't have to give people buys, and we make sure that everybody has to play their 4 prelim games because, I'm sure that everybody that got that 3-0 win loved it, and it happened twice this year.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna name any names because 'cause I'm not mad at those guys, but it's just an announcement for everybody. If something comes up where you can't make the tournament, if you could just let the people running the tournament know,
Yeah.
it makes everybody get to play a lot more paintball and have more fun.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like a double edged sword, right? Like, yes, it's a win for the guys that were supposed to play them, and it helps the event run a little bit ahead of schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, you do get to go ahead of schedule.
But I would prefer to play someone.
For sure. For sure. And I mean, both of those times that it happened this year, I had 3 to 4 other guys sitting there ready to go, wanting to play, and just they would come up to me and ask me if they could play and just play as those guys just to give that team another game, and, I have to tell them no, because if you didn't do the due process on PV leagues ahead of time, you can't get just buy your way in on the day.
Yeah.
That's not how it works, and it sucks because I would rather us just get to play paintball, but that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Well, let's hit on the new for well, there's two new news, but the new that's done, I guess, the Tournament of Aces.
Yeah, man,
How'd
that was
that
a
come
really good
about?
time this year. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. A lot easier than the C3XL. A lot easier than the
Yeah.
C3XL. And a lot of fun. And I definitely intend on, just like the C3XL, making some adjustments and tweaking it, but definitely plan on bringing it back next year. And hopefully going to encourage more people to come out and play it. And it was really cool to see how many guys that were like entry level that were coming out and mixing it up. Uh, and I didn't really expect that. Thought that mainly it would just be the killers, but it seemed like every tournament out of 20 people, 15 of them would be D5 and below, and then you'd have your 5 killers. And so that was really cool, and just getting to watch those guys. And I think it really did a good job of proving that your PB League's division and your score when the lights come on, and it's just you and the other guy, that stuff doesn't matter anymore. And I think that really was cool to see. Watching some D6 guys shoot out Owen every now and then was pretty cool.
And for those that don't know, the Tournament of Aces is one-on-one Friday night. You did 4 events, right?
Correct. Did 4 events. You play 4 prelims, and then we take however many into it's best 2 out of 3. Then we go into a bracket, and then it's race to 3. And then you win a trophy at the end of it if you win. We have a little mini game every game you win, you get to draw a card out of a deck and you get to assemble your poker hand and you can win paint and stuff like that. So even if you don't win the event, you can still win stuff. And that was the whole idea behind it. And we really like to play a lot of cards in the off time here. And so we were just sitting around playing cards one night and kind of having a couple beers and hatched that idea up and made it a reality. So it was pretty cool.
And it's one of the coolest trophies in paintball that
Yeah.
you guys have done there.
Yeah.
Where
And
where did
like
the
I said, it's
idea for that trophy come?
so we wanted to do homemade trophies, and we have a plethora of old garbage paintball guns laying around here. And instead of, using them as boat anchors or selling them to somebody on eBay for $10, we felt like with a gold spray paint can and some creativity, we could do some really cool stuff. So that was kind of the idea behind the trophies was let's not because I mean just to be honest, that event doesn't make a bunch of money for anybody. Uh, we didn't want to spend $200 or $300 on a trophy when we felt like we could make one that was even cooler than what $200 or $300 could buy. Every one of those trophies we made here in house at Palmetto, which I'm pretty proud of all of them.
You should be. They're really cool. I feel like in some sense they're almost better than the C3XL trophies.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that at all, man. And I definitely think I'm gonna steal that idea next year and potentially be making the C3XL trophies rather than buying them because of how well received our homemade trophies were this year.
We do our Toys for Tots thing, so I might be biting your trophy idea because we've never done trophies because it's, a charity
It's a,
event.
right. It's an unnecessary expense. Yeah, I get it. But if you've got a couple blocks of wood and some old guns laying around, and you know, just a little bit of craftsmanship, it's not too hard to make something look relatively cool. And the cool part about trophies is they're going to sit on a shelf somewhere and they're not going to get examined with the magnifying glass. So you don't have to make them perfect. You just got to make them look cool from 10 feet away.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true. I go out and find myself some $5 spiders.
that's right, man. That's right.
Well,
But
so
it was a really good event. Overall, all four of the events were good. I always think that uh, playing under the lights, if you've never done it, if you've never had the opportunity to do it, you should definitely seek out a field that does offer it, and go do it, whether it be a tournament style or just a rec night. It's one of the first versions of speedball I ever got to watch was under the lights. And, when I was like 10 years old, and I thought that it was just the coolest thing in the world. And it's, under the lights, it's not where you can't just there's still rules. We're still playing paintball, but, you know, things can get a little bit loose and a little bit wild under the lights, and I think that's how it should be. And the Battle of Aces never got out of hand, and everybody left friends, but it definitely has a slight bit of an attitude to it, which I really like that. The fact that it got like that, but everybody was still able to shake hands and be buddies at the end of it was really something special.
well, and there's something about that lighting that makes those pictures look really cool too, that come out of that event. So is that going to continue to stay like a summer league, if you will?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it next year without a doubt. I might even add another event to it. The idea, two new ideas with it that we again they're just ideas is that we're not gonna make divisions per se, but we are gonna do maybe like a just like a standard and like a high rollers is what we would call it. And the high rollers would be the entry fee would be a little bit more. It would also be where you can actually win money. And it's they're both still open, but the point of it is to take guys. I'm gonna just continue to drop his name like Owen, and put him up there where it's like, hey, dude, you have no business playing these D6 guys, and he doesn't. The he showed that over and over and over and over again. But where you're essentially your D4 guys and up, the guys that really know how to play ball would be encouraged to play the high rollers because that's where the money's at. And then the guys who are just wanting to dip their toes in and get to play a tournament under the lights could just play in the standard. So that's one idea. And the other idea we have is just like in a lot of poker tournaments is the ability to rebuy. So if you get knocked out, you could buy back in. And we're not talking about $30, $40. You're talking about $10.
Uh-huh.
You had a bad game, you want to buy back in. So that's another idea that we're taking it in. And so we steal a lot of the ideas away from poker tournaments. And so we're just trying to implement that a little bit more and just like the C3XL, just tweak it and adjust it until we really feel like we've got something special.
Nice. Well, I like all those ideas, and I like sticking with the poker theme. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that, to my knowledge, nobody else really does. So that was the inspiration with C3XL. When we started doing it, the 3-man X ball was not a popular thing, and now it is. The
Yeah.
pros are doing it,
You
but
were ahead of your time.
I would have guessed that. But the same with the Battle of Aces. We took a lot of inspiration away from the joust, and all of that stuff, which was really cool. But we wanted to put our own little twist on it.
Nice. And using like the kit that everyone already has instead of the specialized Hormesis kit.
Right, right, right. And there's even been some talk about potentially taking it on the road next year, maybe going to another field or two and seeing kind of because I'm sure we would get a different crowd and then trying to bring them all together to play against each other. We've been chewing on that idea as well.
Okay, nice. So might have some more like regional battle of the aces, and then
Potentially,
maybe a grand finale type thing.
yeah, yeah, potentially. I mean, it's not set in stone, but there are other fields with lights, and I'm sure that there are some other studs at other fields that could definitely come and give Owen and Evan and some of the kids at Palmetto a run for their money.
Okay, yeah, I like that idea. That too. That'll be an interesting one to flesh out. So,
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
and that reminds me of the how the CFOA did their 3-man back in the day, where they ran it. They had a series at each park, and then they ran 2 seasons during the year, and the final event was at the I guess it was at Rock Hill, but you had to earn your way into it, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think
something
it's that was I've heard about that in the past, and unfortunately I was still too young to really be a part of that. But I think that it would be really cool. It's always been like a fantasy idea to take all of these guys from these different regional leagues, CFOA, C3, AXL, NGXL, just to name, a couple that are close, and then just get them all together, like the top 3 out of all of them, and get them all together and let them beat the shit out of each other on a Sunday just to see who really is got it. I think that, like I said, it's a fantasy idea, but it's always been an idea that I think would be super cool, even if it wasn't a tournament. Just to get them together to be like, no, we're the best in this area.
Mhm.
Something besides World Cup to prove that, because there's so many other variables at World Cup. Just something for, those 4 or 5 regional leagues, if we could get their top D4, top D5 teams together to beat the snot out of each other would be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting, and like you said, really cool to, like, top team from North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Virginia even, and have an event where if you had won your local series, you get to go to the special event type.
Yeah, like I said, and it wouldn't even have to be the idea is it wouldn't even have to be a tournament. It could just be a, "Hey, all you guys, you've earned your free day of beating the crap out of these other guys, and we're all going to meet up in a central location, and paint's going to be really cheap. We're going to have some videographers out here to cover it. Nobody's going to win anything except bragging rights and a homemade trophy. And let's just see who is the best in this current, before World Cup. Because the World Cup is the period and the punctuation mark, but I think it would be cool to see it on a kind of a regional level too.
That would be cool. So you could take, like, rice and beans and pit them against whoever comes out on top in D4 in the NGXL, right? And just have a fun day, run a couple matches, switch up the format in between, and see who has the most wins at the end of the day. That would
Yeah,
be awesome.
yeah. I mean, right, and that's just something that, I think it would be it's just for bragging rights at the end of the day, but I tell that to the C3XL teams all the time. I said it at the finale, and when it comes to, like, D4, D5, D6 3-man, I truly do believe we have some of the best 3-man teams in those divisions around. And I think a lot of that is due to the difficulty of the format, the X ball format, which is becoming more common now, thank God. But I encourage them. And if any of them are telling me that they're going to World Cup, then I'm their biggest fan. I'm pulling for them, whether I know them or not, whether they won any of my events or not. If they played in my series and they're going to World Cup, man, I really want them to win or have a good showing, get in the top 10, just to prove that, my theory about us having some of the best 3-man teams playing in the league and in the lower divisions, of course, is accurate, because I do think that is the case when everybody's playing at the top of their,
Well, man, we're cooking tonight. You good on time still?
oh, dude, I got plenty of it.
All right, cool. Let's talk the C5XL, what it is, what it's potentially gonna be, the idea behind it.
Yeah. Um, so it's I guess we'll just start with what it is first. What it is right now, it's just a 5-man tournament. that we're going to have here at Palmetto on October 11th and 12th, Division 5 and Division 4. Yeah, we're going to have 10 on a team with 2 people from the one division higher can play down. So you can have 2 D3s on D4 and 2 D4s on D5. You can't have a D2 or anything like that, which is kind of breaking the standard format. I've already had to tell a couple D2 guys no that they couldn't play D4, which if you say it out loud sounds really silly,
Uh-huh.
but it is the way paintball works now. And then it's essentially the same formula as C3XL. The only thing that we're doing different is it's race to 3, just like C3XL. And we're adding 3 minutes to the game clock. Instead of 7 minutes, it's 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then we're adding 2 more bodies on the field, and we're adding, another 16 bunkers. And so very standard 5-man as far as the layout goes, kind of standard 5-man as far as the rule set goes. The pretty much everything is going to be just a mimic of the C3XL. In the C3XL, we don't throw minors and majors. We only throw minors. In the C5XL, all of the refs are going to have the yellow flags to pull you and another body. And then the head ref is going to have the red flag in his pocket. So if we have to pull a major on somebody, we will. But in these lower divisions, man, you have to do something really heinous in my eyes to get a red flag thrown on you. You blatantly have to be cheating.
Okay.
Basically, I'm not a big fan. When we get up in the higher divisions, then I definitely believe that there is a valid place for the red flag. But in these lower divisions, if you get shot in the hopper per se, and then you dive into the snake and all this, if you're a D2 guy and it's sprayed off in your face and you're playing at NXL and they throw the red flag on you, you can't really complain. But if this is your first 5-man and you're D5, or your first D4 5-man, and that should be you in a body, and that's just my honest opinion on it. So we're still have minors and we'll still have majors, but for the majority part, that'll be the one difference, is that will be a lot more yellow flags than there would be red flags at a traditional 5-man.
Okay.
And then the layout's going to be blind. And when I say blind, I mean blind. I'll set the layout myself that Friday afternoon. I won't let anybody look at it. I won't let anybody come in the gate and walk it. And then when people show up Saturday morning, they'll get to see it. We'll play on it Saturday. And then Saturday afternoon, after Division 5 finishes, I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to change it around. And then that way, essentially, it's blind again for Division 4 the next day. So if you come and scout on Saturday, good for you, but it's not going to be the same the next day.
So we aren't just switching out a Dorito for a can or something. We're
No.
making major changes.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not moving every bunker, but I designed a layout where taking a couple bunkers off and adding a bunker here and adding a bunker there could dramatically change the field.
Okay.
And, that's really easy to do when you put the big stuff in the middle. All you got to do is move those around a little bit. And next thing you know, that shooting the guy in the snake went from every point to impossible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even just rotating them
Yeah.
180 degrees
Yeah.
or whatever. Or 80.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can definitely make a new layout by moving 6 to 8 bunkers. If you have it placed right and you think about it ahead of time, you can make a whole new layout.
So is this just a experimental event and kind of see how it goes?
I think that's the proper thing to call it right now. A lot of people, I had people come up to me and tell me that they're super excited to play in the C5XL 5-man season next year. And I just kind of look at them and I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know where you heard that was happening from, because I've never said that was happening. But I'm not saying it's not happening either. But to be completely honest with you, C3XL is my baby. And I don't know that the climate is right now to have both of them.
Okay.
So when the rubber meets the road, if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick the C3XL. If I could do both from a logistical standpoint, I definitely can. But from a player standpoint, I don't know. I would hate to water down one in order to have two. And so I would say that, we'll call this a test event. My initial plan is that if it goes, and that this is I guess a bit of news for everybody. If this one goes extremely well, then we will do another one probably in February, maybe before the season gets started.
Okay. kind of like
Call it a winter war, whatever you want to call it, and do one a season warm up, however you want to market it, call it whatever. That is the plan. If this one goes really well, we'll do another one and then just go from there, man. I don't want to. I tell people all the time when they're asking me about the future that we can't look for the sunrise until the sun sets.
fair enough.
Take it one event at a time.
Hmm. All right. Well, I like that. People are very excited. There's a lot of paintball in the Carolinas right now. A lot of options,
Yeah,
and then
for
there's
sure.
options in Virginia and Georgia also. So
Yeah, and I mean, not to say that we do the best tournament because I don't think that we do, and not to say that other people do bad tournaments because I don't think that any of the existing leagues do a bad job. I just wanted to do my version of it and then give people, especially here in the Carolinas, something to compare and contrast to because, there's only been a couple options in the past and it's been mainly in the same places done by the same people and it's been kind of, just the same old, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I hope that those things continue to happen. I just wanted to put my spin on it and let people just kind of see what a different look of it could be, and then just see how it's received from there. And I mean, we've already got all the stuff to do the tournaments with, so why not?
yeah. Well, and not to like jazz you up too much, but I think you starting the C3XL is one of I think it did play into, the CFOA doing the blitz format and stuff like that, you
Yeah,
know.
it's definitely made an impact. And that was I say that a lot, but that was the whole goal with the league, was it wasn't to get rich. That's for sure. I knew that going in that wasn't going to happen. And it wasn't to, steal players from anywhere else. It was just to, try to do a really, really good job where everybody else that is doing events has to do a really, really good job because in the past, I'd been to some events that I thought were I'm not going to say they were bad events. I just felt like the people didn't really care, per se. And I think they didn't really care because there was nobody knocking at the door competing with them.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be that competition.
Well, and competition makes everyone better if it's done right. So,
Yeah, I agree. And there's enough paintball for everybody, man.
yeah.
Yeah, nobody's gonna go out of business because that one league pops up or another league pops up. I think we have room for yet another league to pop up. It wouldn't surprise me at all if somebody else took a stab at it. And you hear things, and every time I do, I'm like, well, man, I wish them the best of luck because it has been one of the hardest things that I've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, running a league or even an event is super hard.
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can't really speak to it till you've tried it.
That's right, man.
If it's gone well or poorly, either way, it's
It's hard when it goes good. It's hard when it goes bad.
yeah,
For years we ran all these woods ball scenario events and thought we had pretty well had that mastered how to do a good scenario, and I thought that was hard. And then we started doing speedball tournaments, and boy, I look forward to the woods ball events every time now because they are so much easier to do.
yeah. Well, so speaking of the Woods Ball event, kind of after the C5XL event, you got two of your biggest ones, or well, I don't know if they're your biggest, but
They are. Yeah,
they're
they're
what I'm.
Palmetto's biggest days for sure.
Yeah, they're what I when I think of Palmetto scenario events or big games,
Yeah.
they're the two that come to mind.
They are, and that's the Christmas Clash, which I'm gonna be releasing all the info on Facebook and opening up pre-registration for that probably next week while I'm stuck inside in the rain, and that'll be December 20th. Very fun game. There's no generals. It's red versus green, and it's just a get together right before Christmas for everybody to come shoot each other, and just have fun. And then you've got red and blue is coming back around for I think this will be our 8th year that we've done the event. And another, I guess, news tidbit is that we do have, I was lucky enough to get Blue, who won last year, is going to come back to defend. And for the first time, I'm going to let the loser come back and try to win again. So I'm going to let Matt come back and try to beat Blue. And
Okay.
normally the loser, I tell him to kick rocks. I got to find somebody that can beat the winner. But man, Matt, he did so good last year. And it was really the first time that I got to talk to the guy a lot, besides watching a YouTube video occasionally, and start building that relationship with him. And I was so super impressed by the way he carried himself on the field and off the field that I wanted him to come back. And just the other week, I had them both here at the same time and convinced them both to throw their hats back in the ring. So we're going to be back in the end of January, early February, doing red and blue again. And, 300 to 400 people. It's a mess, but it's probably one of the most fun paintball days you can have, and, not take it super seriously, but you definitely, there's an element of there's somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. And the whole design with that game was in the beginning was we're sick and tired of these games where they had these crazy missions and you had 5 or 6 guys that really knew what was going on. And it was awesome if you were one of those 5 or 6 guys. Otherwise, you were kind of just, cannon fodder for a lack of a better term. You didn't know what we're going. You just went towards the noise and shot at the bad guys. With red and blue, it's very simple: red flag or blue flag, and that's it. Everybody's even, nobody's special, and it's very easy to keep track of who's winning, who's losing. It's very easy to get shot and go respawn and be right back in the game. You don't have to worry about getting shot by AT rockets and tanks and airstrikes, and all of those things are what make some scenarios really cool. But red and blue is just supposed to be paintball, and I think it does a really good job of doing that.
Nice. Oh. And that's the end of January or early.
Yeah, it's always the last weekend of January or first weekend of February.
Okay.
The date on that, I usually will have it out by Folded Gap World Cup
Okay.
is when I open the pre-registration for it. Blue and Matt are both very, very busy guys. So I just have to figure out which one of those weekends work the best for them. Because if they're not here, they're at another paintball event. So I can't hate them for that. But I just have to figure out which one of those weekends work the best for them. And then pick a date on the calendar and we'll open pre-registration and well, we we've hit the number as far as people here. We've had over 400 people, but we capped the game at 400 players. We've never hit that in pre-registration. I don't think that we will, but it's the only way to guarantee that you get to play for your team is to pre-register, because once your team hits a certain amount of people, then we close the pre-registration until the other team can catch up.
Okay.
Uh, because the worst scenario game you ever play is one that's completely lopsided.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, I like a lopsided game and I like being on the team that's getting their ass kicked, because that means that the respawn is usually 20 to 30 feet from me.
So you can get
And
back to it quicker.
yeah, but it's really hard to sell that to people who haven't played a lot of paintball. They want to win,
Hmm.
and we want a good back and forth game. So we really monitor the pre-registration really closely, and I really encourage people to pre-register if they care about who they play for. If you don't care, then don't worry about it. Don't pre-register. Pay us $10 extra or $20 extra, whatever it is, and then walk on. That's okay too.
And then do you guys have vendors come out for that? Or just
Yeah.
like
Traditionally, I think since we've been at Palmetto, we usually have 2 food vendors, various ones. We have Chris Wilson brings the Eclipse Tech booth out here.
okay.
Nova has been out here. I think we've had Maxed came one year and set up a tent. Dead Boxes came and set up a tent. It usually varies depending on what the vendors have going on for that weekend, if they're got any other events going on or anything like that. And, if they think that, obviously, if they think they can make any money, because we want vendors to come, but at the same time, we try really hard to stock our pro shop to the gills for that weekend. So, we want guys that are coming and selling products that you don't normally see. Like, and Nova's a great vendor for that. and Chris with the Eclipse Tech Tent is a great vendor for that. So we try to look for stuff like that rather than some guy that's just going to come and set up a mini A&S gear.
Uh-huh.
Because we have a pro shop here on site, and we do our best to get people, you know, good gear and good recommendations, and so we got that going for us.
Okay. So, if someone wanted to be a vendor at any event, whether it be a C3XL or one of these big games, what would they have to do?
Hit me up. Yeah, just hit me up directly on Facebook is about the best way. I try to channel all of my paintball business and talkings through Facebook Messenger because I have a face and a name, and so and hit us up and then just let us talk and see what you want to do. And normally we don't charge anything for vendors because it just adds to the overall event. And you know, if anybody out there on that note, I'll take that minute to plug that is that you know next year the C3XL is definitely gonna be seeking some sponsors. I wanted to wait a
Okay.
couple years and make sure that I had a good product before I went out and started sponsor hunting. But now that I'm pretty confident in what I got going on, we're definitely going to be going after some sponsors next year. So if you want an event named after your company, then you know just send me a message. I'm definitely open to do that. If you want to come vend or sell stuff or you know just shake hands and kiss babies, just hit me a message.
So I got $10. Can I get the Planet Paintball podcast open?
Not $10 will get you something. I don't know if it'll get you what you want. Yeah,
Fair
you
enough.
can. $10 you can continue to put your stickers up at the booth.
Okay. I mean, I'll do that either way.
Mm.
No, that's awesome. So we will potentially be seeing like the DLX
Let's say,
6 Mile shootout next
yeah,
year.
yeah, or like you know, I'll throw Valken's name out there. Like Valken and Command Decisions, where we had the finale, have had a very long standing relationship over the years. um, Based off of that's all they've ever shot at that field for Photogap. And so, you know, it would be a great event to have at Command to have a Valken sponsored 3-man event. You know, just that kind of idea. I probably wouldn't let some non paintball related company name an event after themselves. I probably wouldn't do that.
Okay.
But
So we won't be having the Ingles open.
probably not, but, you know, like, if there are players or people who are actively involved in the community that have their own small business and wanna get their name out there, then I'm gonna look at, you know, doing opportunities for that, doing some banners around the fields and stuff like that, so, um, it doesn't have to be paintball related to get involved as far as being a sponsor and getting your name out there, but I can't you need to have some kinda interest in paintball,
Okay.
so that's really my only restriction on that.
All right. Fair enough. So you're
Yeah.
telling me Andy's Taco Shop has a opportunity.
Andy's Taco Shop is, but see, that would be the thing is like they could be like, "What? Who is this Andy's Taco Shop?" And I need to be able to point over there and be like, "That guy,
Okay. Fair
that
enough.
guy is Andy's Taco Shop," and then they're in. Yeah,
Well, that's exciting, and look forward to seeing who you get.
yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting sending out all those emails in the off season and seeing who bites.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've got plenty of selling points now. We've got plenty of tournaments behind us to show that, you know, we do have something here that people are participating in. You know, if like that tournament we had the one here at Palmetto when it was 105 degrees and you know, but 45 teams for a regional 3-man tournament. I've done my PB League's homework. I'm probably on their site more than most anybody. I've yet to see anybody get that this year for a regional 3-man,
Nice.
and so you know I'm going to hang my hat on that one. And until somebody can show me that somebody else had a regional 3-man that had 45 teams at it, um, then and when they do, I'll be like, yeah, but was it 105 degrees?
It was a
But
hot
you know,
one.
yeah, yeah, it was. It was, and thankfully, all of the heat injuries, which were expected, were handled, and nobody had anything too terrible happen to them.
Yeah, no
Uh,
ambulance, right?
no, we had an
We had
ambulance.
one? Okay.
Yeah, we did. He, again, I'm not gonna name him, but I've dealt with a bunch of heat injuries over the years in paintball, especially in the scenarios, because those guys are idiots and they just push themselves way too hard. So I wasn't panicking when I heard that, we needed to call 911. And then when I finally got to him and seen how bad he was, and yeah, we needed an ambulance, but it was heat.
Yeah.
It was heat and the lack of water and lack of taking care of yourself and it being 105 degrees and playing in the semifinals with everything you got. It was bound to happen. And I mean, we put a number on it that morning that we were going to go with at least three, probably four. And we were there at the end of the day on Saturday. We were at four. And then I think we had another one on Sunday, but we only had one, what I would call a true emergency. Everything else was go sit in the shop and cool off.
Okay. Nice. That's pretty good. I mean, that's
It is.
yeah,
It is.
40 teams at uh 5 players each. What is that? 40.
Yeah, it's
That's
close to 200 people
200
that
and some
weekend,
odd. Yeah.
and, everybody's focused more on playing paintball than they are taking care of theirself,
Yeah.
and that's just the nature of the beast, but, it was and that's one thing that we've been really lucky with throughout all the events, as much paintball as we played, we have not had any super serious injuries, we have one seems like every event, but they're always self-inflicted most of the time, and it's always go cool off, chill out. I think that overall the refs have gotten hurt far more than the players have.
It's a long day for reffing. So,
Yeah,
especially those midsummer events.
if you've never done it, there's a good chance you're probably not any good at it, and I would highly recommend you do it before you criticize one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's wild that we probably have a lot of players now that haven't even refed like their local field, you know? Like back in when I started, like you're on the team, the local team, you're kind of got to ref the local field a little
For
bit.
sure.
So,
I think that's how it should be. I think you should have to at least experience it. I'm not saying everybody's not a ref, but you should at least have to experience it. And I also joke with people all the time, and I'm like, one of the requirements for moving up from D6 to D5 should be you have to set a layout one time, and then you would
yes.
you would you would it.
Mhm. Yeah. You should have to design one and set it out and then
Yeah.
hear everyone complain about it.
Yeah, because when people come out there and help me, they're like, "Oh my god, dude, you do this every week," and I'm like, "Yeah, man, that's part of the job," and it's one of my favorite parts. But people underestimate the amount of effort and work that goes into that too. So to everybody out there that is setting field layouts up, hats off to you guys for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely a long process, especially if you
Yeah.
only got like 1 or 2 guys.
Oh yeah.
5 to 6, I think, is the best to get it done within an hour, but, it seems
Yeah.
to, like, double every guy you lose
For
from that
sure, dude.
6.
If you're one guy and you can blow up the bunkers, and if the field's already marked off and you're one guy and you can blow up the bunkers and set it in less than 4 hours, you are a bad hombre.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting it.
Yeah, yeah, you're definitely hauling it at that point.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Uh,
But that's the thing is like people just they don't know, man. And like every time I bring a new ref on at the end of the day, they're like, "Holy shit!" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right." So
mhm,
next time you go to complain about your refs, you'll remember this day.
and you know, I don't you don't get favoritism, but it doesn't hurt to make sure your refs have water and stuff, like, as a player,
For
right? Like,
sure.
"Hey, you guys need anything?"
For sure, man, and I tell people that all the time when they talk back to the refs or they're, just being idiots out there, and I'm like, "Look, man, they're people, the refs are, and they have a memory as much as you want them to be unbiased and not have favorites. It is people's nature to remember stuff. So when you do bad things, they're gonna remember it. When you do good things, they're going to remember it.
Well, and I think, example from the pro circuit for that would be, Zach Wade, who plays on Infamous. I mean, there was years where, like, anything he did, he got a penalty for, but he earned that reputation for a long time of the guy who's gonna do something shady. So they started looking at him more, and it took them a long time to work back from that even. So,
For sure. And I mean, I would say I see that, you see that in every league and probably in just not just paintball, but every sport.
yeah.
And it's just like, it's not that they're picking on you, it's that they're going to remember that and they're going to watch you more and they're just going to catch you doing the stuff that you're already doing. And so, when you're a penalty magnet, it's not the refs that are making you a penalty magnet. That's what I remind that to people all the time. I'm like, dude, you got the penalty because of something you did, not because of the ref. And
Yeah.
thankfully, most of the penalties that I've had to bring people into the scorekeeper's tent and talk about it, at some stage throughout the talk, there usually is an admittance of guilt, which is all I'm looking for.
Well, and just, how you react to getting your penalty is, if you're gonna make a fuss over it, they're gonna
Yeah.
remember you more. If you get the penalty, just take it and walk off.
That's exactly right, man. I think that we've only ever picked up one penalty in the history of my ref crew, and I can't even remember what it was for. It was something super insignificant, and it didn't change the outcome of the game, anyways. But most of the time, when that bird comes out of the pocket, it doesn't matter what you say. You're
Yeah.
only going to make it worse.
Yeah, it's already done.
Yeah,
Standing on the field arguing is only going to piss off the refs
that's correct.
and everyone else. Just go back and focus on the next point and keep your mouth shut. You can say how unfair it was after, in your pit, but
Yeah, I mean, come to the scorekeeper stand and talk to me about it. I love talking to the players and having that connection with them and explaining stuff. But talking to the refs, especially the guy wearing the head ref jersey, it usually doesn't work out well for the players. And it's not just my league; it's like that in every league.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
every
just
single
just
league.
shut up.
Yeah, it's and just from a player perspective and a guy who's run teams, like it happened. We'll talk about it after the event. Right now, we got to focus on what's in front of us, not what's behind us. So
Yeah, yeah, because there's nothing you can say or do that's going to make that scoreboard change after it's already happened.
yeah,
And that's the reality of the situation. It's one of the hardest easy things to do is to shut up and walk off the field.
hmm
And so, I think that we've took a pretty hard stance on it as far as not allowing them to talk.
hmm
And it's saved a lot of headaches because, I mean, if you talk after you're dead, the refs are just going to throw a penalty on you. And it doesn't really matter what you were saying. It's just, you can't talk while you're dead. And so that's saved us a lot of headache. And, if you're a live player and you want to talk a bunch of crap to the referees, be my guest. But usually it's not the live players. So that's been and I hate that on that note, man, I absolutely hate that in the pros that they let them do that. And I see it every event that the pros will get a bad call or they'll trade when it shouldn't have been a trade. And, you'll have some famous pro getting mouthy with the refs on the sidelines. And, it's probably a good thing they're not mic'd up a lot of the times, but you can see it
yeah,
that you can see that they're getting mouthy with the refs, and it just sets a terrible example for all of these lower divisional players because you shouldn't be able to do that. I mean, you don't see guys in the NFL giving refs a earful, and if you do, they're going back to the locker room. And so I think that's just it's a terrible example that the pros are allowed to get away with. And I mean, even if they're right, that's okay. But you have all these younger Division 6, 5, 4, 3, whatever, watching them do it, and they think, oh, well, I can talk to my refs that way.
yeah, no, it does not end well for you.
Yeah,
Well, man, I've kept you for hour 20.
yeah. I see that now on the top of the screen. Wow.
So, but a good, great conversation. But I feel like we're at a good stopping point.
Yeah, for sure, man. I've enjoyed it as always, and I'll continue to listen to them. And I really like what you got going on.
Well, thank you. And I might not be playing the C5, but I'll definitely be up there, you know,
Yeah,
at least
yeah. It'd be good to
helping
see you
out the rice
as
and bean
always. Come on
kids
out.
and hanging out. So,
There you go.
all
I'm
right.
sure that they're gonna need a good pod runner.
Yeah, They're lucky it's getting a little too cold for Speedos. But anyone you want to shout out before we go?
I mean, the only person, and I think I did it last time too, that I could shout out is Pete here at Palmetto, man. I've got to shout out Pete and, just give him all the thanks in the world, because if it wasn't for Paintball Pete down here at Palmetto, I wouldn't be able to do any of the cool things that I've had the privilege to do. So that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next time on the Planet Paintball podcast.
All right, man.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show of the Planet Paintball podcast. Remember, use code Planet Paintball for 20% off your orders from 1023 Sportswear. Shout out to Green Goat, Southwest Paintball, Josh Conley Tattoos, and Andy's Taco Shop. And remember, keep growing, keep grinding, and we'll see you next time on the Planet Paintball podcast, where we probe the divisional pits so you don't have to.